Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again, and we're back going to Phyrexia All Will Be One. So please hit the subscribe button down below. Remember to like the video at the end, and then leave me a comment on what I've missed out. So today's deck tech is all about one of the more random creatures we get in this set, and it is a mono deck, so might give you some clues there, but I don't need to say much more than that. I'm going to just show you the deck. I think it's probably easier. So today's deck is all based around this commander. Chiss-Goria, Forged Tyrant, 6 red. So for a 5/4 dragon with flying and haste. However, there's one very key thing we need to notice on here. Affinity for artifacts. So the more artifacts you have, the less this spell costs, while I get tongue-tied at the start of the video. And it has the ability, whenever Chiss-Goria Forged Tyrant attacks, exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may cast an artifact spell from among them this turn. If you do, it has affinity for artifacts. So, you're going to be exiling stuff from your deck, fine. But you get to cast the artifacts that you may reveal, the most useful one at that time. And then you get to play it, and it's got affinity. So if you've got a load of cheap artifacts in play already, your more expensive artifacts may cost you 1 or 2, or maybe, if you're really lucky, nothing. So how have I built this? Well, it looks a lot like this today. As usual, just start with the land. As you can imagine, mainly red mana base. A couple of additional lands I want to point out. Because we are mainly red, Nykthos makes its appearance. My key is, if it's mono, it's got Nykthos, end of. We've got the usual selection, Temple of False God, Reliquary Towers in. But we've also got some other things, like the Autonomous Furnace is here, so we can draw a card if we need to. Temple of the False God, I mentioned. Sozcan, Crucible of Defiance, just to give us a couple of spirits if we need them. And also Valakut's in here. It seems like an ideal place to have Valakut. We've got 20 mountains. We've got ways of finding mountains, and we've got other things that count as mountains, like Dwarven Mines here. Cabaretti Courtyards in. We've got Evolving Wilds, Field of the Dead, Inventor's Fair, because we will have artifacts in place. We might as well gain a little bit of life with it. Care of Core Keep, so we can get some kobolds out just to protect us, like Field of the Dead, will hopefully produce zombies at some stage. We've also got Mikokura, Centre of the Sea, to just draw some cards. Okay, everyone gets one, but, keeps everyone happy. And Mirex is here. Mirex is here because it does produce artifact tokens. Yes, they have toxic, but they are artifact creature tokens. So, they count towards your affinity for artifacts. So, with the rest of it, Mox Tantalites in, Mana Crypts in, Soul Rings in. I'm going to count Ruby Medallion as ramp, along with Arcane Signet, Fellwell Stone, Fire Diamond, Thought Vessels here, and Ruby Medallion. That counts as ramp as far as I'm concerned, especially since it does double duty in this deck, where it takes 2 off the cost of casting Chiz, which I think is really useful. The other thing I will point out is I've now got Jeweled Lotus back in the deck. It has been fixed on MTGO, so in some of the decks you'll start to see it reappear again, especially where I'm doing mono ones. But we need a way of getting artifacts into play. And what we then need to do is take advantage of this to get the big artifacts at the end here. You can't see the last ones, but you can probably guess what they are, into play as well. So how are we going to do this? Well, we've got a bit of removable Lightning Bolt and Vandy Blast to blow up everyone else's artifacts. We'll just put them to one side. But what we are looking for is getting as many artifacts in play as we can. And we've got ways of doing this. So that's why Dockside's here. Yes, it's a red deck, so Dockside would be in here anyway. But don't forget, your treasure tokens help with affinity. If you can get this off for a lot of treasure tokens, it's probably going to make Chiss-Goria cost 3 at some stage. As long as you don't have to sack the treasure tokens off to do it. Likewise, Guild Artisans here. Interesting background from Battle for Baldur's Gate. Commander creatures you can own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, you may create 2 treasure tokens. So, I would imagine you'll probably be able to take some damage early in the game and then hit the person with the most life and get those treasure tokens. So, let's keep that in mind. Likewise, Magda's here. There is another reason for Magda as well, which I'll come to. But whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. So it's a nice way of getting treasure. I've included Diamond Mare, purely because it gives us some life gain. We choose red, we get life. That's why it's here. Hedron Crawler is also kind of ramp, but it's an artifact ramp. And Hero's Blade seemed like a good idea in this deck to me. If we can get it into play, get it equipped, You know, flying in the air for 8 damage ain't the worst thing in the world. You know, 3 swings, you're dead from commander damage, if nothing else. Iron Mir's also in here, taps a red, another creature, another thing we can look for. And then we've got a few other things. Captain Lannery Storm produces treasures. Jessicai's Will has turned up. I've managed to get one now. This version, this promo version, is the cheapest one available on MTGO. I think it's under a ticket when I picked this up. So it's worth going and getting one if you need one for your collection at this moment. But, you know, red for each card in target opponent's hand, or exile the top 3 cards of your library and play them this turn. Or, you know, if you've got Chiss in play, get to do both, so we can't complain. Professional Face Breakers here. When one or more creatures deal combat damage, you get a treasure token. Again, we're building up our affinity costs. The Reaver Cleaver does the treasure token bit as well. And then we've got Urabrask's Forge. Now, this is kind of a mini win condition in this deck. I've been playing this a lot in Standard recently. I love this card. I have found a way to make it fairly good in Standard. So I decided to try it on MTGO as well, especially straight into this deck. Now, we've got no way of putting extra oil counters on, but it is an artifact. And you never know, could have affinity for artifacts. So we'll bear it in mind, see how it goes. Valakut Awaiting is here as the 38th land, because I think, you know, we do need some land in this deck. But it's also here because we can always do the whole let's wheel our hand ourselves. Zorn gives us extra treasures as we make the treasures. And the Hammer of Pilferos is a nice artifact that gives everything haste that we may not have haste with. So, you know, it's worth having the run. Academy Manufacturer helps us with our artifact count, believe it or not. Alloy Mirror just for some extra ramping. Altar of the Pantheon gives us a ramping, also gives us another good artifact to hit, so it makes sense to me. Chromatic Lantern helps with the ramp, along with Coalition Relic. Commander Sphere, Dragon's Horde is also here. There's a reason Dragon's Horde here, and that's the reason we'll come to Magda being here. Extra Plane of Lens is something I've been wanting to try out for a while, and this seemed like a good deck to try it out in. Filigree Familiar, a bit of life gain, a bit of card draw. Foundry Inspector makes all artifacts cost less, which is great because it adds on to the affinity thing that we get to. And then Imposing Statuary seems like a good place to have this. We can tap our artifacts, all the ones that wouldn't normally be tapped, you know, like Swiftfoot Boots or Hero's Blade or any of the others, you know, Academy Manufacturer, to help us cast some of the other artifacts we might need. Big Score gives us treasures and card draw. Likewise, Pirate's Pillage does the same. Young Red Dragon can go on an adventure and then come into play. Atushi the Blazing Sky, and this is where we come to the next part of it. We have got a minor dragon theme in the deck. I wasn't overly hopeful that we'd be able to win with the artifacts, and I decided that since we've got one dragon, let's play a few more. Now, we haven't got any of the usual ramp spells, Dragon Speaker Shaman, etc., that help us get the dragons out early, but having a few kicking around seemed like a good idea to me as a backup way of winning. Chain Reaction is also in, just to control the board a bit, and likewise Koth's here. I'm still trying to make Koth work. I do like Koth. I think it's a good planeswalker. Having the extra mountain search is good. Having the -7 is even better, because with this and with, if we can get it up and running, Valakut, yeah, seems like a really good plan to me. You know, one, if you get them both, you get the emblem off on Koth and you've got Valakut in play. Every mountain is 7 damage to something. You win the game very quickly then. Unexpected Windfall, more land, more treasures, and card draw. And Visions of Phyrexia. I put this in because I wanted the Power Stones more than anything else. If we have to play the top card, we can, but the Power Stones help casting all the artifacts you can see. Likewise, Font of Mythos, we want the extra drawing. That's why it's here. The next part of the dragon plan is a Ganax Astral Hunter. Very nice. Another dragon into battlefield, you get a treasure, so it helps with your affinity. But it's still a 3/4, which is pretty good. Likewise, Terror of the Peaks. Another creature enters the battlefield, we get to do the whole let's do damage equal to its power, and he gets good with this deck. Gilded Lotus, 3 mana for 5. Really good target for the affinity when we get there with Chiss. The rest of the dragons, we've got Rusi the Falling Star, we've got Ancient Copper Dragon. Ancient Copper Dragon is a bit of a no-brainer in my head. Get a hit in with it and get the D20 treasure tokens. Probably means you are straight there for getting Chiss out if you haven't already managed to do it. Chandra gives us another way of winning the game with all the +2ing for the emblems that everyone gets, and you get to ping them and then shock them and then bolt them, and then can't think what you do at what you could call 4 mana, but yeah, you know, you get there eventually if you're lucky. Hellkite Tyrant is definitely a win condition. When it deals combat damage to player, nick all their artifacts. Then at our upkeep, we have 20 more artifacts than this in play. We win the game. With the amount of treasure tokens, and hopefully getting at least one hit in with this, we should be able to win it with the turn after we play this with a bit of luck. But if we can't, we've got Inferno with star mounts to pump up, and hopefully do the 20 damage to something. Brass's Bounty helps us do the treasure, and Mere Enforcer has natural infinity for artifacts, so this is going to be cheap really quickly. Blasphemous Act, a little bit of more board control, and then we've got Dark Steel Forge to protect our artifacts as we go through. Dark Steel Colossus, Metalwork Colossus and Blightsteel Colossus finish off all of our wonderful artifact generation. And I'm hoping we do hit these and we don't exile them all when we hit with Chiss, because having these come in from an affinity point of view would be so much better than having to get up to 12 mana to cast them, or 11 in this case of Dark Steel. Yes, they can be bounced. Yes, they can be pacified, but they are indestructible, so they survive wraths and so on and so forth. And if anyone really wants to pay 11 life to kill them off with some -X black spell, Chiss is probably going to kill them really quickly. But that's it. It's a shorter deck tech today, because I think Chiss is pretty straightforward to play in this format as it is. But, you know, down below, let me know what I've missed. Let me know what you think should be included in the deck. I suspect there are artifacts that I haven't included that should be here. So if you can let me know in the comments, I can always adjust the deck. And you can see me playing this at some time this week on the stream. The link's below. Come and give me a follow there. And please make sure you hit the sub button here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with some more fun and games. Take care. Bye.